Chairman Wayne Emerson, CEO for the Regional Municipality of York. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining you from the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe peoples. COVID-19 has reshaped so many aspects of our lives, including how we get around in our communities and how we connect with each other. As a government, we have consistently focused on the health and safety of Canadians and the need to safely overcome this pandemic. Mais on va s'en sortir. Et nous savons tous que nous devons commencer à mieux reconstruire dès maintenant. Nous devons bâtir le Canada que nous voulons en relançant notre économie, en créant de bons emplois pour tous et des débouchés pour les entreprises canadiennes, en nous assurant que nous attaquons au changement climatique et nous construisons des communautés plus inclusives où les gens veulent vivre, travailler et élever leur famille. Je crois que les Canadiens se souviendront de cette période, de la réponse collective des Canadiens de partout du pays, comme l'un des moments tournants de notre pays. We will get through this pandemic, and we do need to build back better. We have a huge opportunity to build a more competitive country, to tackle climate change, and to build more inclusive communities and a better quality of life for all. Throughout the pandemic, my focus and that of the infrastructure department has been on getting projects approved and moving forward right away. We need jobs now. We need to restart our economy. Since the start of COVID-19, 2,700 projects have been approved in communities across the country, worth almost $4 billion. Everything from new community centers, to electric buses, to renewable energy projects, to new wastewater facilities. In the GTA, there's been so many investments, as I think folks here can tell you, but that includes $1.3 billion to date in York and Toronto Region active transit and transportation projects such as, $65 million for the purchase of energy efficient and zero emissions buses for Toronto, and the naturalization of the Don River, which will protect Lake Ontario and many homes in Leslieville from flooding. We've also adapted our infrastructure program to create a new COVID-19 stream, where the federal government funds 80 cents of every dollar on projects that can get started right away to help Canadians live through COVID-19. That includes better ventilation in schools and long-term care homes. And today we're here to talk about a once-in-a-generation investment in public transit in the GTA by the federal government. Cities need good public transit to thrive. People want to live and work near good public transit. It helps our essential workers get to work. And for many residents, it's the only viable option. It connects historically disadvantaged neighborhoods, making it easier for the residents, often women, immigrant families, and children, to get to school and work. Transit is at the heart of an inclusive recovery, one that restarts our economy and creates good jobs. From construction workers to transit drivers, to workers on the assembly line, to small business owners, to Canadian suppliers. Tens of thousands of jobs are created when we invest in public transit. Cleaner transit also cuts pollution, raises air quality, and improves public health. Transportation represents a quarter of Canada's greenhouse gas emissions. Without bold action, this will grow rather than shrink. By electrifying our public transit system and linking it to cycling and walking paths, we're investing in a critical solution to climate change and helping drive Canada to net zero emissions by 2050. Just this February, I announced with the Prime Minister a federal investment of close to $15 billion in new funding to accelerate shovel-ready, job-creating projects across the country, to electrify our transit systems, and also a new stream for permanent public transit funding of $3 billion annually. let's get to today. Today, I'm excited to announce that after many months of negotiation, we have reached a historic deal with the Government of Ontario to invest in public transit in the GTA and beyond. This is a smart plan, worked through in earnest over the last 6 months and not easily made. But it is a good deal for the residents of Toronto and York region that will reduce congestion and get cars off the road, create good jobs, connect historically disadvantaged neighborhoods, and tackle climate change. Aujourd'hui, je suis heureux d'annoncer qu'après de nombreux mois, nous avons conclu un accord historique avec le gouvernement de l'Ontario pour investir dans le transport en commun. Il s'agit d'un plan intelligent qui a fait l'objet d'un travail sérieux au cours des 6 mois derniers et qui n'était pas facile à réaliser. Mais c'est un bon accord pour les résidents de Toronto et de la région de York qui permettra de réduire la congestion et de retirer les voitures de la route, de créer de bons emplois, de relier des quartiers historiquement défavorisés et de contribuer à la lutte contre le changement climatique. We support strong cities and we respect transit decisions made by local decision makers, including the City of Toronto and York region, based on what is best for their communities. We also always listen to Canadians, which is why we pushed hard to get better outcomes for residents and local communities in the GTA, which I will get to later. As part of this deal, the federal government is investing over $10 billion in 4 shovel-ready public transit projects in the Greater Toronto Area. Dans le cadre de cette entente, le gouvernement fédéral investit plus de 10 milliards de dollars dans 4 projets de transport en commun prêts à démarrer dans la région du Grand Toronto. First, we're investing in the Scarborough subway extension, will extend Line 2 at Bloor-Danforth at Kennedy Station to Shepherd Avenue East, a 7.8-kilometer extension that will improve transit connections between Scarborough and other rapid transit systems. For people in Scarborough who don't currently have a good transit option, this investment will lead 3 more stops along Line 2. Second, we're investing in the Yonge Street North subway extension, extending Line 1 north to Vaughan, Markham, and Richmond Hill. If you live in the north of this city, this means cutting down your commute time by almost half an hour. Third, we're investing in the Eglinton Crosstown West extension. This will create a continuous rapid transit line along Eglinton Avenue between Scarborough and Mississauga, a part of the city that needs better crosstown service. And finally, we're investing in the Ontario Line project, which will bring rapid transit from Exhibition Place through downtown to the Ontario Science Centre. Anyone in Toronto can tell you that the subway is way too busy. Sometimes in rush hour, people have to wait for 2 or 3 trains to go by before they can even get on. This major investment will help not only deal with that, but it also creates tens of thousands of good jobs and will help gridlock traffic off the roads. And it will significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The GTA represents 20% of Canada's population and growing, and it has the 3rd highest transit system ridership in North America. When complete, over 6 million people across the GTA will have better access to Toronto's services, with public transit routes covering 1,200 kilometers. And with light rail vehicles producing near zero emissions, this is key to reducing emissions in the transportation sector and driving Canada to net zero emissions by 2050. These investments are a key part of our plan to kickstart our economy and create 1 million jobs. These projects will create good, skilled, union and middle-class jobs and opportunities for businesses across Canada, which is good for the region, good for the province, and good for our country. We also understand that every taxpayer dollar invested in infrastructure must have multiple benefits, including creating good jobs and opportunities for local businesses, building more equitable and inclusive communities, improving the quality of life for all, and tackling climate change. That is why federal funding is dependent on satisfying conditions, including demonstrating how the investments will drive down emissions and build climate resilience, include substantive environmental reviews, include community benefit agreements, incorporate barrier-free and accessibility, address local concerns, ensure affordable housing along the line, and meet employment thresholds for underrepresented communities, including Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as women. Transit expansion depends on strong partnerships between the federal government and provinces and municipalities. Support from all orders of government is essential, and we look forward to continuing to work together to get shovels in the ground as quickly as possible. Avec les Canadiens, nous construisons l'avenir que nous voulons et dont nous avons besoin, y compris un avenir où nous avons réussi à atteindre des émissions nettes nulles d'ici 2050 et où nous avons assuré un avenir meilleur et plus durable à nos enfants. Building big things in Canada has always been about nation building. We built big because we thought big. Now in 2021, it's time to think big and build back better once again. I'd now like to hand over the virtual microphone to my good friend and colleague, Minister Mary Ng, who has been a champion, I can tell you, for the Yonge North Extension from day one. Over to you, Mary.
Well, thank you. I think terrific announcement.
Great announcement.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And it's terrific to be here with my good friend and colleague, the Minister of Infrastructure in Catherine McKenna. And it's wonderful to see so many of my colleague members of Parliament here. And of course, our friends and colleagues at the provincial and at the municipal level. Thank you so much for joining us for today's very exciting announcement and investment by the federal government. It's wonderful that I get to do this both as the Small Business Export Promotion and International Trade Minister, but indeed as the Member of Parliament for Markham Thornhill. And today really is a historic one, one that I have had the opportunity to advocate on behalf of the riding that I represent, and certainly the region in York, since day one, as Catherine knows well, and I know what this extension will mean for so many people in the York region and the opportunities for growth that this investment will unlock. And I have to do a special shout out here because this also would not be possible without the municipal leaders, but I am going to shout out my mayor in Frank Scarpitti, who has been advocating for this Yonge North extension for more than a decade. And by extending, well, there we go, Gary clapped. By extending the Yonge line from Finch to Langstaff, we're doing more than connecting four cities. We're connecting countless businesses, workers, their families to new opportunities. Mom and pop shops in the York region will better be able to connect with digital experts in the downtown core. So this is bringing York region and Toronto even closer together. Family restaurants or local boutiques in Markham will be able to attract customers from all corners of the region. Families across the Greater Toronto area will be able to get to each other in record time. So this Yonge North extension is more than transit. Today's announcement, as you heard from Minister McKenna, it's about creating jobs. It's about generating inclusive, sustainable growth and tackling climate change. This announcement is good for workers, it's good for families, it's good for the environment, it's good for the future of our communities in the York region and certainly beyond. And it's so great for Canadian businesses and entrepreneurs who I have the humbling opportunity to serve as their minister, and realizing how much this transit will help them get from place to place with greater ease and greater speed, and helping them make those family business and entrepreneurial connections. I often say that my job is the Minister of Startup, Scale Up, and Access New Markets, and we collaborate. We collaborate not only in the Greater Toronto Area, but we certainly do that to create made in Canada products, services, innovations, and we sell it to the rest of the world. And this just helps us be more competitive. So today is historic. It's the largest public investment in infrastructure in Canadian history. And this is an investment in you, in the small businesses that are at the heart of so many of our communities and the backbone of Canada's economy. It's an investment in the workers, in the students, and in the families that will help us rebuild and recover from this incredibly challenging year of the pandemic. Today, we're investing in you and in your future. And I can't wait to see what great successes will come from today. Thank you so very much to the minister and indeed to our partners at the provincial and at and at the municipalities as well. So thank you so very much. Back to you, Catherine.
Well, thank you very much, Mary, for putting in context for your community, but also the broader context for Canadian businesses. This is great for GTA area businesses. It's great for Ontario businesses, but it's also great for Canadian businesses. I now want to turn it over to Minister Mulroney. Politics isn't always easy, but I think it's very important that you maintain relationships and we remain focused on the people we serve. And it wasn't always easy, as I said, getting this to the place we are today. But I do want to thank Minister Mulroney and handing it over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour à tous. I'm so excited to be here. And I would like to thank the Honorable Catherine McKenna. Minister, thank you for your commitment to this historic partnership between our three levels of government. As the Minister well knows, we haven't had a conversation in the past year that didn't include a reference to Ontario's priority transit projects. I'd also like to thank Mayor Tory, Chair Wayne Emerson, and Mayor Scarpitti for your tireless and collective commitment to these nationally significant subway projects. Mayor Tory, thank you for your leadership and continued confidence in Ontario to deliver this ambitious transit plan for the GTA. Toronto City Council's overwhelming vote to endorse these 4 subway lines sparked a historic partnership between the province and the city. And to Mayor Scarpitti, I can't tell you how pleased I am that the shovel that you had Prime Minister Trudeau sign and Premier Ford sign when they first committed to this project will finally get some use. Since I assumed the role as Minister of Transportation, Premier Ford gave me a clear mandate to move these priority subway projects forward. During the last provincial election, our government campaigned on delivering a modern, fast, and reliable transit network that would reduce gridlock and emissions by connecting more people to more jobs and homes. And with our subway plan for the Greater Toronto Area, we're doing just that. Lors des dernières élections provinciales, notre gouvernement a fait campagne sur la mise en place d'un réseau de transport en commun moderne, rapide et fiable, qui réduirait les embouteillages et les émissions en reliant plus de gens à plus d'emplois et de logements. Et c'est exactement ce que nous faisons avec notre plan de métro pour la région du Grand Toronto. As we vaccinate more and more people and think about the beginning of the end of the pandemic, the decisions that we make about transit will only grow in importance. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, the Yonge subway line was averaging about 800,000 passengers a day. With over 11 million people expected to call this region home by 2051, we must act now to ensure we're ready to serve the needs of a growing population. That's why in April of 2019, we announced our new subway transit plan for the GTA, the most ambitious and bold subway expansion plan in Canadian history. The 4 priority subway projects will connect communities to jobs, stimulate economic growth, and create desperately needed capacity on the existing network. Les 4 projets de métro prioritaires relieront les communautés aux emplois, stimuleront la croissance économique et créeront une capacité désespérément nécessaire sur le réseau existant. The federal commitment of $10.7 billion marks a significant milestone for the province's $28.5 billion subway plan that will revamp the regional transit network. reaching this milestone with our federal partners brings us one step closer to delivering on our promise to build the modern, reliable, and sustainable public transit system that the people of the City of Toronto and York Region so desperately need. By working together, the governments of Canada and Ontario have sent a clear message that we will take decisive action to champion the public infrastructure projects that support the health and growth of our local communities. These priority transit projects will provide rapid transit connections to historically underserved neighborhoods, slash commute times, and relieve the dangerous overcrowding on the existing lines. With more people using a reliable integrated transit network, we'll see a significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. On top of that, our nationally significant priority projects stand to benefit our economy. Together, these 4 subway projects will support over 16,000 jobs each year during construction, with continued employment for the operations and maintenance of these lines. In the 2 years since we've announced our ambitious transit plans for the GTA, we've already made significant progress. We've started work on the priority transit projects, and we're moving at an unprecedented pace to deliver the Premier's transit vision for the province. While I know that there has been some concern whether or not these projects would move forward, the province of Ontario, despite the pandemic, has kept working to fulfill our promise. Today's announcement is an endorsement by the federal government of our government and Premier Ford's vision for transit in the GTA. The choices we make today determine tomorrow's growth and prosperity. And thankfully, with vaccines starting to arrive in greater numbers every week, we can look forward to the day when we can travel more freely and for fun instead of just for essential reasons. When that day comes, our public transit and transportation networks need to be ready to accommodate the incredible potential that exists here in the Greater Golden Horseshoe and across every corner of Ontario. I'm proud of the work our government and our partners here today have done to help make the right choices today to ensure we're ready for a brighter future. With that, I want to once again thank the federal government for coming to the table as a full funding partner for these 4 priority subway projects. We know that projects of this significance require all 3 levels of government to partner together, and we can now look forward to that happening. Thank you, Minister McKenna, and your government for recognizing this and working with us to improve transit for riders in the GTA.
Thank you very much, Minister Mulroney. Now I'm going to pass it on to Associate Minister Surma.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here joining our federal and municipal partners at this historic announcement. Today's news signals our shared commitment to building a truly connected transit system that will spur economic growth and improve the quality of life for residents here in the GTA. As mentioned by my colleague, Minister Mulroney, we live in a region that is experiencing tremendous growth. And while this growth is excellent news, it has also led to more traffic congestion and long trips on transit. Ontarians desperately need and deserve immediate investments in their communities' public transit systems. Since day one, our government has made it clear that we will build smart and with intention. That's why this federal commitment of up to $10.7 billion is so exciting and critical to Ontario's transit future. This funding supports our plan to transform the region's subway system into a convenient, integrated rapid transit network that offers more options and reduces travel times to make people's lives easier. These long overdue investments will help reduce congestion, improve commutes, and provide good-paying jobs for the people of Ontario. But our plans aren't just about building transit, they're about building communities. People living within large urban centers like Toronto have spent the last 13 months confined to their immediate neighborhood. This experience has left us all with a profound understanding of the value of complete communities, walkable ones, that can connect people with the places that they can live, work, and play. It is time to look at our communities in a more holistic way to make life easier, more convenient, and improve our quality of life. We will make public transit a more attractive option and rethink the way we plan and build infrastructure projects as we lay the foundation for Ontario's lasting prosperity. This moment has presented us with an opportunity, and I would argue the responsibility to not just build transit, but to create dynamic, complete communities along our subway corridors that prepare us for the needs of Ontarians moving forward. We recognize and appreciate that we cannot do this alone. We remain committed to working closely with Mayor Tory, Mayor Scarpitti, Chairman Emerson, our municipal partners and staff to deliver our vision to build better public infrastructure. It's about re-envisioning the way we build transit. Ontario's historic $28.5 billion subway plan will see the expansion of the GTA's current system increase by up to 50%. We always said we needed all three levels of government at the table for such a monumental project. With today's announcement, residents can rest assured it is happening. This subway expansion plan will be built. York Region will have its subway extension. Pressure for Line 1 will be reduced as a result of our Ontario line. Etobicoke residents will finally have access to fast and reliable public transit. And Scarborough residents will be getting their 3-stop Scarborough subway system. Shovels will be in the ground and dirt will be flying. I want to conclude by thanking Minister Mulroney for her tireless work negotiating and getting these projects approved and funded. And of course, thank you to Premier Ford, who has been a champion for the people by making these transit projects a priority and a soon-to-be reality.
Thank you very much, Associate Minister Surma. Now coming to my good friend, His Worship John Tory, Mayor of Toronto, where we have had, I don't even know how many conversations, I guess every single day. And I know you've also had many conversations with members of our Toronto caucus who care greatly about getting these projects done in the right way. And a shout out to James Mulroney, who's the chair of our caucus, Toronto caucus. He's the MP for Etobicoke Lakeshore. I know these projects were supported by Toronto Council, and as we've always said, we respect local decision making, and we are very proud to be a partner with the City of Toronto. So over to you, Mayor Tory.
Well, Minister McKenna, thank you. And I will pass by on the way through and talk a little bit about the caucus members and so on. But for the moment at the beginning, I want to just pay tribute to the ministers, yourself, who I did talk to very, very frequently about a variety of matters pertaining to this historic day, but also to my two provincial friends, the Honourable Kinga Surma and of course, the Honourable Caroline Mulroney. And you know, again, it proves that when people work together, we can get things done. And it was a bit of a difficult path to get to where we are, but the bottom line is we got there, and it's a great day for transit in the City of Toronto and a great day for transit in the Toronto region. I was long before the pandemic wanting to treat as a high priority because we had to, for economic, for environmental, for social equity reasons, the expansion of our transit system in the City of Toronto. And, one of the tasks that we had put upon us in the last year or so was to keep that system going. We saw just how vital it was to get essential workers to and from work, and to get people who had to go to work and who had no other choice to work. We had to keep that transit system running. And we did that, by the way, with the help from the other governments as well. And I'm very appreciative of that, as I'm sure are the people who use the transit system and continue to use it during the pandemic. But part of that work also had to be to make sure that we could collectively come together at the table to make sure that everybody was investing in future public transit, because we'd taken too much time off over the years. We collectively, it doesn't matter who to point fingers at, it doesn't matter. It's done, or it wasn't done more correctly. And we had to just get on with actually building the transit out in the way that the ministers have all described today. And that is why I supported and continue to support the province's $30 billion plan to build out public transit in Toronto that is going to see real progress on transit actually getting built. The $15 billion permanent transit funding announcement made recently by the Government of Canada is something, again, that is proof of a strong ongoing partnership in this area, and a proof of the Government of Canada's very strong continuing commitment. If you look at how far we've come, where it wasn't that many years ago that the federal government in this country had only sporadic involvement in major, as has been said, nationally significant public transit projects, then now they do have involvement on a continuous basis and on a permanent basis. The city is a partner in the provinces and the federal government's plan, but the province's plan that the federal government is helping to fund by continuing to invest the city building fund in much needed transit infrastructure upgrades and repairs, because the two go together. You can't just build transit. You have to keep up the transit you have and keep up the transit that you build going forward on an ongoing basis. I brought that city building fund forward specifically so that we could come to the table ready to make our own contribution to the building and maintenance of transit in the city of Toronto. And today, the federal government has made it clear, as they had indicated before, but they've made it now perfectly clear that they are going to be a full partner in the provincial transit plan with a more than $10 billion announcement in the 4 priority transit lines here in Toronto, including the Ontario line, the Bloor-Danforth subway extension further into Scarborough, the Eglinton West LRT, and the Yonge North extension into the York region. As Prime Minister Trudeau announced this morning, and as Minister Mulroney echoed, we are also just finalizing a deal on streetcars that I hope we can detail sometime in the immediate future. This is on top of the billions that the Government of Canada has invested in transit in Toronto over the last 6 years. And they have done so always taking account of local interests and of local priorities, which is what they said they would be doing from the beginning of transit. Even in the prior government, they said they would respect local decision-making and local priorities, and they support the priorities that we identify. As Mayor of Canada's largest city and its economic engine, the country's economic engine, I am proud to secure support from these governments, both federal and provincial, for our transit system, because transit expansion is vitally important to the future of our city. It supports our economic recovery. It will, in and of itself, this expansion plan support thousands of good jobs. It will help ensure a greener future for this city region, which is vitally important to the people who live here and to us. It represents a substantial contribution to greater equity and creating direct jobs in these projects themselves and what surrounds them, but also connecting people to opportunity. Toronto's transit system, which is, as befits the largest city in the country, also the largest public transit system in Canada, one of the largest in all of North America, has helped to drive our economy, and a bigger and better system in the years to come will ensure the city's continued economic success. And that is a success that I know we want to share that success with the rest of Canada and the rest of Ontario. We are the economic engine, and that is something we take as a responsibility and a privilege, and not just a blessing. And we want to share that good fortune and the ability to do more with the rest of the country, and this transit will help. It's about better transit across the city. It's about jobs. It's about a greener Toronto, and it is about connecting people living in what have become marginalized communities to the opportunity that is Toronto from today going forward. I am confident that Toronto is going to return to the top when it comes to growth in all of North America, because that's where we were before this pandemic hit. The tops in North America when it came to growth. And this transit investment by the federal government, combined with what was there from the province, will help, combined with the city's own investment in transit at the same time. And it is another example, a really good one, and I hope we all take this to heart, I certainly do, of the progress that can be made when all governments here at City Hall, up the street at Queen's Park, and in Ottawa work together. I want to thank the two governments for working with us to get this deal done, and it did take quite a long time. And it did take the full effort of all of these ministers and many, many other people. And it's unusual in a public announcement like this to single out a staff member, but I want to say my own Chief of Staff, Luke Robertson, has just spent a huge amount of time on this. It meant that I didn't have to spend as much time on as many phone calls, but he probably did it better than I could do anyway. And he did that and helped a lot, and together with the staff members of these other ministers that are represented here today. It has been a very deliberate priority of mine from day one in this office to establish and maintain strong partnerships with both other governments as they have responded as good partners. So I want to thank the ministers again, but I also want to thank Prime Minister Trudeau, who has been steadfast in his partnership with the cities and with Toronto, I can say, in a number of different areas. And I want to thank Premier Ford, who's also been a good partner to the City of Toronto in pandemic and out of the pandemic. There are issues that we have between all of these governments from time to time, but we've also had many successes, and I think we have to celebrate those. They have been partners that I can work well with on transit, on housing, and on a host of other things, pandemic or not, and I intend to continue to do so. And I think announcements like today will be encouraging to the people that we all represent, because they want to see us working together to achieve things for them. C'est une bonne nouvelle pour l'emploi, pour l'environnement, pour les communautés isolées, pour le transport en commun. Et c'est une bonne nouvelle aussi, car cela montre que les trois gouvernements travaillent ensemble pour construire une grande une grande ville. This has been a long time coming. It started back in 2016 when we initiated the city building fund and sat down and agreed to have a transit agreement with the other governments. I brought forward that year, and the city council approved the city building levy dedicated to transit and housing. Then we joined together with York to say that that project, which is an extension of a current Toronto subway line and which will help us to bring people to work and create prosperity both in York Region and the city of Toronto, that we needed to work together to make sure that these things happen in a timely fashion so you wouldn't further overcrowd the Yonge Street subway and we could have them happen concurrently, which was a very important agreement that we reached to support each other and to put good transit connections in place. In 2019, after months of negotiation, we stayed at the table when people were telling us we should walk away. And we reached a historic transit agreement with the province of Ontario. And under this agreement, the province is committed to building and paying for the 4 transit lines we've been making reference to today. And that is worth approximately $30 billion. And we committed to investing in the state of good repair and in new vehicles. So working with our partners in Ottawa as well to make sure we secured, as is being announced today, their 40% full partnership share in these projects and allowing us the opportunity to do the investment in state of good repair and in new vehicles. Shortly after, we further increased the city building levy by 1.5% per year. That wasn't without its controversy, but at the end of the day, it made sure that we had the money available from the municipal taxpayers, and they're the same people, but they're different sources of money to invest in the much needed vehicles and in the state of good repair, while the other governments really paid for the bulk of the tunnels, as it were. And it's also to ensure, I think, that when we come to the table, we're able to say that we're going to put a contribution on the table, a meaningful contribution on behalf of the city that is always asking the other governments for help in building up a great city. And in between all of those steps, I want you to know I had many, many conversations with all the ministers involved, but also had many, many conversations with the members of parliament representing Toronto. They have been steadfast allies in making this day come about. And Jamie Mulroney is the chair of that, what we call 416 caucus. Gary and Andesangri I see on here today, but they've all been terrific allies, and they've given me advice with respect to how we can go about getting to success today. And I want to thank them for their cooperation in that regard. Again, it serves as a strong example of what can be accomplished when people, doesn't matter their political stripe, doesn't matter which government they're in, they just work together to achieve a public objective that is going to be good for the people that we all collectively represent. It's the right thing to do right now. It shows that every government is committed to keeping Toronto moving and to building for the future and making the investments we need to make today so that that growth and success can take place in the future. We are all committed partners when it comes to transit and infrastructure in words and now in action and with real substantial money. And that's what we need to do to keep building up the city, which I hope will contribute, because I'm a proud Canadian. I hope that building up this city, continuing to build it up as an admired destination for investment and jobs, will continue to build Canada up, because that's what we're all trying to do. Today, you have an excellent example of the cooperation that will make a real difference in people's lives. And that's what it's all about too. Making a difference in the lives of the people we all serve, making their life easier, making their environment better, making them more easily able to connect with jobs and opportunities. So I thank again all the governments involved in bringing us to today, and we'll turn it back to you, Minister Catherine, with thanks for your great leadership in this and bringing this announcement over today.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. As you say, it's really about coming together for people and the people we serve. Thanks for giving the shout out to our caucus members, because they have worked so hard on this. And I also want to give a shout out, well, to Luke, but also to my staff members and the public servants who've worked so hard to get to the place we're at. I know there's someone else, well, there's a few others want to speak, but I know there's someone who has been pushing this project, his project, for a long time, showing me the shovel, and I'm very happy that we've got to a good place working together. It's His Worship Frank Scarpitti, the Mayor of Markham.
Well, thank you very much, Minister McKenna, and it is great to be here with all the ministers and my colleagues in municipal government, and to be able to see so many MPs that are here. This is an incredible day for Markham, for York Region, and the rest of the GTA. And I want to say a big thank you to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and yourself, Minister McKenna, for delivering for York Region with this commitment. It is an outstanding commitment. And I have to say, you know, in baseball terms, you have hit it out of the park. And, you know, fair to say, I'm not going to take a whole lot of time, because I think the merits of the Yonge North Subway extension is well known to everyone. And you know that I've been saying for many years that the Yonge North Subway extension is one of the most justified transit investments in all of the GTA. And this extension is going to connect people to jobs and opportunities in two of Canada's largest innovation centers in Markham, York Region, and Toronto. And with the support of this investment, you really are making a sustainable future for all of us. With the addition of the Yonge North Subway extension, we will reduce greenhouse gases annually by over 4,800 tons. And I know that that's going to bring a smile to your face, Minister McKenna. And it will also eliminate the over 3,300 bus trips that are taken daily on an already jam-packed Yonge Street corridor. And fair to say that this subway extension will serve the major, not only the existing communities, but the major urban growth centers in York Region. You know, by the year 2031, there will be over 60,000 jobs created, in part because of this investment and other jobs that are coming to the region. And when you take a look at the new communities, the new residents, there'll be close to 100,000 new people in the Yonge Street corridor and in the urban growth centers. And that's just in York Region alone. And I know that Mayor Toure knows about the exciting plans just south of Steeles Avenue as well. Now, back in 2019, when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did sign the shovel and his commitment to the Yonge North Subway extension, he knew back then, he absolutely knew back then how critically important it was and is to get the federal funding so that this project could proceed in a timely fashion. And really today, Minister, your government has honored that commitment to the residents and the businesses in Markham, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, and the rest of York Region. The federal government truly has been an incredible partner to our communities in York Region, particularly during the pandemic. I have to say the support from the federal level of government working with the province of Ontario has been absolutely outstanding. And today we celebrate your historic investment in public transit. And Minister McKenna, I want to say thank you to you. I don't know what you're going to do now. You're going to miss all our phone calls and emails and requests for meetings. But I want to say thank you because you truly have been instrumental in getting this funding agreement with the federal government and the province of Ontario. And everyone knows your passion for public transit. I also want to say absolutely thank you to Prime Minister Trudeau. You know, it's really history making in the fact that the $15 billion transit funding was established and that there will be an ongoing transit funding from the government of Ontario. This is something that municipalities, the FCM and municipalities have been asking for years of the federal government, and it is this Trudeau government that has come through. And so I want to say to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, you are a valued member to Team York Region. And let me tell you, you have an incredible team here with Minister Mary Ng. Thank you, Minister Ng, for your incredible support and advocacy. But, you know, all of the members, we have MP Francesco Sabera, we have Majid Jawari, Helena Jasic, Tony Van Bynen, and Deb Schulte. This is Team York Region. And let me tell you, they've done an incredible job advocating for this project. And, you know, I'm not afraid to say it. I think MPs of all party stripes, I say thank you for your ongoing commitment and advocacy to bring attention to this very, very important project. We're here today celebrating this historic investment by the federal government, but I want to acknowledge the tremendous work that has taken place over the past couple of decades. Thank you to Mary Frances Turner and her team at the York Region Rapid Transit Corporation. You've given us the credibility to move forward with these significant projects. To Phil Verster and his team at Metrolinx, who's done an incredible job, again, providing all of the information and the technical data. This project always stood on its merits, and I thank you for the ongoing work that the team at Metrolinx has been doing. And of course, on a personal note, I want to say thank you to Premier Doug Ford. You know, even back when he was a city councillor and his late brother, I mean, the quote is famous: subway, subway, subway. And he's taken that commitment to subway as the Premier of Ontario. And I want to thank him for always including the Yonge North Subway extension in the Ontario Transit Plan. And there is a picture when the Premier signed the shovel. And in that picture is a Caroline Mulroney, a candidate back then. And who would have thought, Minister, that you would have been the minister to carry this project to its fruition? And I thank you for your incredible leadership, your drive. When we talk about Team York Region, not only is your riding here, but you understand the needs of this growing region. And I thank you for the incredible work that you and the previous ministers and their staff, the people at Infrastructure Ontario, for everything that you've done. And of course, to Associate Minister Kinga Surma for your unwavering support of this project and the other projects. Minister McKenna, thank you, because really we would not be here today if it wasn't for your advocacy, for your everything you brought to the discussions. I mean, the province of Ontario had a great transit plan. You've made it even better with wanting to make sure that certain projects were included as we move forward. I always said that the Yonge North Subway extension should not be taking a backseat to any other project in the GTA. And Minister and everyone involved in this particular initiative, I'd say you very much have put us in the driver's seat today. You've made this project possible. And again, it's through that partnership of the federal and provincial government and all of us working together. So I say thank you. Thank you for investing in public transit. Thank you for investing in our planet. Thank you for investing in our future. Congratulations to one and all. This has been a team effort, and we have a lot to be proud with this announcement here today. Thank you very much, Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Scarpetti. I know how excited you are, and don't worry, it was always going to be part of the deal. And a huge shout out to caucus members who really did work extremely hard. Thank you so much. Really, your work from Francesco to Majid to all of you, I really appreciate that. And now I'm sorry, we're like last but not least, Chair Emerson, you've been, I know, waiting patiently, the CEO for the regional municipality of York. Why don't you talk about why this is a great announcement for your residents?
Well, thank you, Minister, and it's great to be here today. And I want to say about a year or so ago, we sat on the shores of Georgina and Lake Simcoe, and you were there with me, and we did announcements from infrastructure, and you said then, you had the money. It was just a matter of getting the agreement done. So the agreement is done now, and we appreciate all the hard work you did, but I was quite confident you would deliver on your promise. Also want to take an opportunity to thank our MPs in York Region. They never let me down. They kept telling over and over again, they were in support of the subway, and they said and the federal government was also. And I also want to shout out to Minister Mulroney and Premier Ford for your continued work and our 10 MPPs in York Region. They never let us down either. They keep working at this, and this was a high priority. And one final thank you. You said it, Mayor Scarpetti has been the leader on this. I hope that he gets to drive the tunnel boring machine when we put that in the ground, because I'll tell you, he has lived and breathed this for years and years, and he's been a leader. And thank you, sir, for all the hard work. It would not, you've done everything you can to help York Region have the subway, and it now has come to fruition. You'll sleep better tonight and maybe have an odd drink or something like that. So, Minister McKinnon, on behalf of the municipality of York and the 1.2 million residents who call our communities home, it is my pleasure to be joining with our federal, provincial, and municipal partners for a historic announcement. Transportation and access to reliable transportation option has long been the predominant issue for almost half of all York Region residents. It's also a top priority for York Region Council. In fact, our current council has made the highest investment in transportation of any regional government in our 50-year history. This includes our commitment to the Yonge North Subway extension. This project is a critical part of both York Region's transportation system and the transit network of the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. By extending the subway into Richmond Hill, Langstaff Urban Growth Center, we can provide commuters across the GTHA with a greater variety of transportation options and alleviate the congestion in this high volume corridor. When complete, this extension will deliver up to 4 new subway stations, will allow easy and seamless connections between all GTH regions, and will have a far-reaching and lasting benefits. The economic impact of this project will be massive, leading to the creation of thousands of jobs and additional housing options for more than 85,000 residents. It will also support the economic recovery of our communities and residents who continue to be impacted by COVID-19 global pandemic. This is a great day for the residents and businesses of York Region. Through the commitment and collaboration of all levels of government, we can continue to move this vital infrastructure project forward and get shovels into the ground. The Yonge Subway will provide commuters with the missing link in the larger transportation network. On behalf of York Regional Council and our residents, I express our gratitude to Minister McKenna, Minister Yonge, and the Government of Canada for coming to the fore to 40% of the vital transportation project. I also want to thank the Ontario government, Minister Mulroney and Premier Ford, and our partners at all level governments for your continued support in advancing delivery of the Yonge North Subway. By working together, we are changing the way residents commute across our communities. I look forward to our continued partnership to ensure this project supports the economic vitality and post-pandemic economic recovery to our communities. Thanks again, Minister McKinnon. I hope to see you up on the Lake Simcoe shores in the very near future. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Chair Emerson. Maybe swimming, you never know. Well, that was a lot of people speaking, but obviously a lot of good news. And let's just put this in context. This is the largest investment in infrastructure, probably in Canada's history, and we know we need to do this. And Prime Minister Trudeau has been steadfast since the very beginning. Since we committed $26 billion to investing in public transit when we came into government, $15 billion in additional funding for major projects like this that are shovel ready, but first ever active transportation fund, first ever rural transit funds, first ever electric bus funds as part of our commitment for 5,000 electric buses. So I hope to see all the mayors again. My phone can start ringing after this announcement to get all your electric buses going. And that kind of commitment from the very top has made all the difference in getting us through this. We are focused, and we have always remained focused through this pandemic on how we get things done for Canadians. We're going to get through the pandemic. I've always said we're still going to have the climate crisis. We need to tackle that. And we also need to build more inclusive communities for all. This is what this is all about. It's also about a huge investment in Canadians and Canadian jobs and Canadian workers, in Canadian businesses and in Canadian communities. So with that, I hear we have some journalists who may be wanting to ask us some questions on the historic investment in the deal we're announcing today. So I'm going to pass it over to Chantal Aubertin, my press secretary.
Merci, Ministre McKenna. Nous allons maintenant commencer la période de questions. Pour les médias qui veulent demander une question et un suivi, utilisez la fonction « Lever la main » et j'enlèverai vos sourdines. s'y rappelle de dire à qui vous dirigez la question. For the media who would like to ask their question and one follow-up, just a reminder to please use the raised hand function and state who you would like to direct your question to. We will start today with Travis Dandrash from Global News.
Hi there, thank you for that. Yes, indeed, lots of speakers today, but my question is for Minister McKenna and also Minister Mulroney. I'm just wondering about the timing of this announcement, because obviously things between the province and the federal government have been tense, and we saw just in the past couple of days, the Ontario PC party launched some attack ads against the federal government, specifically Justin Trudeau, on the issue of the border. So I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about the relationship and where it's at now, and also whether or not this has anything to do with a federal election possibly being on the horizon.
Well, I can start. Look, I got into politics to get things done. There has been a lot of noise, and I think it's unfortunate when people make attacks and throw stones during a pandemic. But I've been able to work very closely with Minister Mulroney and other folks, including the representatives here, to make a big difference in the lives of people in the GTA. We have to remain focused on people. This is what Prime Minister Trudeau has said. That is what I wake up every day trying to do, as do the other folks that are here. This isn't about an election. This is about restarting our economy and creating jobs at a time when we need to restart our economy and we need to create jobs. This is about tackling climate change. Emissions from the transportation sector represent 20% of Canada's emissions. We will get out of this, but we will still have a climate crisis. And we owe it to our kids to do everything we can do with the solutions that we have to tackle climate change. And really what this is about people. When I think of the people that use transportation, that use public transit, they're often people who have no other option. I hear stories from folks that are taking buses for hours to get to their minimum wage job, and then taking buses all the way back, hours, to get back to their families. We need to be investing in public transportation. It is about the future of this amazing place called the Greater Toronto Area. It's about the future we want, and we have the opportunity to do it now. And let me tell you, I wasn't going to let things get in our way. I'm very happy that Minister Mulroney and I, as well as Mary Tory, Mayor Scarpitti, Chair Emerson, and all the members of the caucus, my amazing caucus, that are represented here today, did not get distracted. They focused on the folks that we were elected to represent and getting big things done, while ensuring that we got conditions that were going to make sure every single taxpayer dollar got multiple outcomes, because that was also incredibly important. That is why this deal did take quite a long time. There are also other pieces that are going to be rolled out in the next coming days. But I think this is about how you don't fight, but you get things done for people.
Thank you. Well, Travis, I'll just add to what Minister McKenna said. We have been working, as she said, on this deal for quite some time. It started with the Premier's announcement in April of 2019, unveiling our plan for 4 subways in the City of Toronto. The next step was the historic partnership with the City of Toronto and with York Region, and then on to seeking a partnership with the federal government. And Minister McKenna and I met just before the pandemic started in early March in her office with my colleague Laurie Scott about working together, finding a way that the province and the federal government could partner on these projects. And so this has been a long time in the making. We've all been focused on the health crisis. We continue to be focused on the health crisis, but Minister Surma and I have been steadfast in our determination to get this, to see this partnership through. And in terms of the timing of it, we're looking to finalize contracts for tunneling for Scarborough and Eglinton in the coming days. And so we needed to finalize our partnership agreement with the federal government ahead of that. And so that's why we are just so thrilled that we were able to do so, because that means with this agreement, this means that the federal government is a full funding partner in these subway lines going forward.
Thank you for that, ministers. My follow-up question is for both of you once again. If you can talk a little bit about the Hamilton piece of this, and I know Minister McKenna alluded to the fact that there are more pieces to this announcement that are coming in the following days, so that may be the Hamilton aspect of it. But is the over $10 billion just for the GTA projects rather, and how much money of this is attached to Hamilton?
Well, Hamilton is definitely part of the deal that we struck with the province of Ontario. I think it's very important that we have transit, good public transit, shovel-ready projects in as many places as possible. This announcement, the federal government's contribution of $10.4 billion is only for the 4 GTA projects. I'd say stay tuned. I'll see you in the Hammer, I think on Thursday.
I don't have anything to add, Travis. We'll see you at our next announcement to learn more.
Merci. Maintenant, on va tourner à Mathieu Simard de Radio-Canada.
Oui, bonjour. C'est un peu la même question qui vous a été posée au début. La question est d'abord pour la ministre McKenna, mais la ministre Mulroney, j'aimerais ça aussi vous entendre. Je m'interroge sur le moment que vous avez choisi pour faire cette annonce. Bon, le gouvernement Ford avait annoncé le projet en 2019. Ça fait donc 2 ans qu'on vous demande de contribuer financièrement au projet. Pourquoi ne pas avoir embarqué avant? Qu'est-ce qui a été si difficile alors que c'est un projet qui correspond à vos objectifs environnementaux? Puis est-ce qu'il n'y a pas un petit peu d'opportunisme avec une possible campagne électorale qui approche, qui arrive rapidement?
Merci pour la question. Alors, pourquoi est-ce qu'on a choisi aujourd'hui? Parce qu'on avait un deal. Ça a pris beaucoup de temps. Peut-être on aurait pu avoir un deal il y a 6 mois passés, mais ce ne serait pas un deal qui serait le meilleur deal. On a fait l'annonce aujourd'hui parce que nous avons
sometime after 2030, Scarborough Subway 2029-2030, Egg West 2030-2031, and for the Ontario line, we hope it'll be open by 2029.
One would be for Minister McKenna. Just a quick clarification. The Prime Minister earlier mentioned $12 billion. Here we've heard 10.7 billion. I believe I also heard you say 10.4. Could you just clarify the number?
Well, I think that it'll probably make a little more sense when we get through the rest of the announcements through the week. There are a couple other announcements that are going to be made, but this is focused on the four Toronto projects, and that's $10.4 billion federal contribution.
Thank you. Now, Tevya from Hamilton Spectator.
Hello. Sorry for crashing this GTA-focused press conference, but we did hear the Prime Minister this morning mention Hamilton's project. So I'm just going to ask, we have it on a solid information that the federal government and the province are each contributing $1.7 billion to Hamilton's LRT project. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about what the city's contribution might be.
I'm sure we can speak about it when we make the announcement. Just to say that there have been, many conversations. I think that the Hamilton LRT is a shovel-ready project. That's the condition for this funding, and I think there's a real opportunity. As I say, it's not just for GTA. You can add the H there, Hamilton. For good public transit, and this was a very important component of the deal that was reached. But I think really stay tuned. I think it's a very good announcement, and it's a good announcement for most of all, I think, for the people of Hamilton. A lot of people have worked very hard on this project over a lot of years, and we know it also needs to be affordable to the people of Hamilton. So as I say, stay tuned.
Okay, I will try on the same topic with a follow-up. The LRT project has been a divisive one on council and in the city for years now, and I'm sure ministers, you're both aware of that. What will be required of city council given this announcement that you're about to make?
Well, look, as we say, we respect local decision-making and local priorities, but there's only one shovel-ready project. So this funding is for shovel-ready projects. We think that's a great opportunity. We worked extremely hard with the province to come up with what we think is a very good deal for Hamiltonians. I know it's supported from a whole range of stakeholders. And I think it's a huge opportunity for Hamilton to get good public transit, but that's also good for jobs at a time when everyone needs jobs, to grow the economy there, and also to ensure really good public transit across the greater Hamilton region. So stay tuned. I think it's a good announcement. As you say, this has been an announcement. There's been some challenges on the project, but I think it is very good for the people of Hamilton.
Merci, Ministre McKenna. On a pris le temps pour d'autres questions. Cela fait fin de la conférence de presse. For the panelists who are still at the meeting, if you guys could stay on post the live for a group picture. Thank you.
A Zoom picture, just what we need. Sounds good. Well, thanks very much, everyone. It is a historic announcement, and most of all, it's going to make a difference for folks that we represent. So thank you for that. And now my only requirement is my eyes aren't closed in the Zoom picture, which often happens.
Madam Minister, could I just suggest, because there are so many people here, why don't you take a picture with the Toronto MPs along with Mayor Tory, and we'll shut our screens off. And then if you could do the same for the York Region MPs with myself and Chair Emerson.
A good suggestion. Okay. Before we do that, let's do one with everyone, the big party, and then we'll go to different parties. Yeah.
See,
sounds good.
Catherine, you don't realize Frank doesn't want his picture taken with me. The mayor of
I know. Well, I was wondering, and now I'm just forcing it. Too bad. He's gotta have his picture. We're all friends now. Here we go.
The mayor of Toronto. Here we go.
Someone's going to tell us that they've taken the picture?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Okay.
On three. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Perfect.
So at one point, Frank was lobbying the Scarborough MPs to extend the Yonge line.
Goodbye, Gary. So goodbye, Gary.
We'll shut off our videos and then come back for the York MPs.
Is that going to work, Craig?
Yep, it'll work fine. And on 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, here we go.
Well, I'll turn my camera off there. That's fine.
Is Deb Schulte still there? Does she have to leave?
Maybe Deb had to leave. Okay.
We're doing another. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you very much.
Mayor Scarpitti, I thought you were going to jump in the air or something. Woo!
Well, yeah.
Anyway, but thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Minister Mulroney, appreciate this. Associate Minister Sharma. Yeah, see you tomorrow. I guess we get to continue this. Great.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Congratulations, and please pass on our thanks to the Prime Minister and the Premier. Thank you.
We will.
Okay, thanks, we will.
Thank you.
Next.